thank you for coming to our session. If you haven't noticed that there is a theme going on here, this is about personal development as well as the leadership development. We noticed that the keynote from Melissa also touched upon imposter syndrome. Our speaker Carol kind of also highlighted imposter syndrome. So next, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Kim. Kim Tayler is a therapist in private practice residing in Austin, Texas. She has a master's degree in counseling, is a licensed professional counselor, a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and a certified clinical trauma professional. Two of Kim's specialty areas are trauma and anxiety. She enjoys assisting clients in transitioning from self-dislike to that of self-acceptance. Today, she will discuss anxiety in the brain and body, as well as teaching coping tools for reducing anxiety and self-doubt. Please give a round of applause to Kim.
Hello from Texas. Hi, guys. Yeah, I really wish I was there in person. Unfortunately, I am not able to attend. So because I'm a therapist, I'm used to connecting with people's eyes, and I can't see anybody's eyes. So I'm gonna just kind of pretend that I'm connecting with all of you right now. I'm going to talk on the imposter syndrome, identifying coping tools for reducing anxiety and self-doubt. And I am very anxious right now. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's so funny. My daughter has been laughing at me. She's like, "Mom, you're doing the talk on anxiety and you're so anxious." Yep, I am. I'm human and feeling some anxiety. Okay. All right, so goals of this session, to define the imposter syndrome, to understand how fear affects the brain and body, learn tools to reduce anxiety, work on our negative voice, which creates self-doubt, and increase confidence and positive beliefs about self. And you guys, although I can't see you, if you have questions at any time, just please come up or tell Aaron, or I don't know how that works, but I want this to be interactive as much as possible over Zoom. Yeah, so just feel free. And I'm gonna invite you guys to do a few exercises. If you don't want to do them, that's totally okay. Just, yeah, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to kind of inquire within a little bit. Okay, so definition of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. When people don't believe, this is another definition, I kind of combined them. When people don't believe they are as competent or intelligent as others might think and are scared that soon the truth will be discovered about them. And when Aaron was just reading my thing that I actually wrote this morning, I'm like, wow, okay, I was experiencing a bit. It is a common human experience. You are not alone if you experience the imposter syndrome. And yes, I've experienced it at the very beginning when I was asked to do this presentation. Can any of you guys relate? I can't even see hands. So I'm just gonna guess that everybody in the room has experienced this at one time or another. Those with imposter syndrome are often high achievers and well accomplished. So we've got that going for us. This definition includes a thought and a feeling. And I was reading through some of the other presentations, and this is probably going to be different than what you guys have been sitting through all day. And also, before I even go on, I want you to, I'm going to take a breath, and I want you guys to take a breath and feel your feet on the floor. Just notice the connection with your feet and the ground and earth. And look around the room and look at all the corners of the room and look at the exit doors. This helps us kind of get grounded and let our brains and bodies just know what space we're in. So this is a tool that you can use anywhere, going on a job interview or whatever. Just kind of look around and just notice the walls and the corners and the door. All right, so this definition includes a thought and a feeling. And I have several clients that are engineers. I am not, obviously, but they have a hard time even differentiating between a thought and a feeling. So I just want to talk for a minute about, like, a thought is in our head and a feeling is in our body. And so a lot of times I encourage my clients, all right, look below your chin. What's below the chin? That is feeling. So the self-doubt part of imposter syndrome is, I'm a fraud. That's in our head, right? That's a thought. And anxiety is an emotional and physical feeling. I'm scared you're going to find out I'm a fraud. And that is experienced more in the body. So I want to go into a little detail with this. Let's start with feelings and how our brain is wired for a worst case scenario. So our brain is wired for survival. And millions of years ago, you know, when we were being chased by lions, tigers, and bears, that was most important, to stay alive for the day, literally. And so here's how I'm going to explain it. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, so this is a brain. The reptilian brain is back here. So it's the brain stem, and it's the oldest, most primitive part of the brain. It kept us alive from lions, tigers, and bears. The amygdala is in the middle, as you guys can see, and it's this little part right here, which is inside, like, midbrain. And the amygdala is our smoke detector, and it decides what is dangerous and what isn't. And then the prefrontal cortex is this right here. And this is our higher functioning part of our brain. It's rational, it's the thinking part of the brain. It's in the present moment, in here and now. When this is connected, we can connect with other people and have conversation. And when this goes offline, it disconnects when the amygdala perceives threat. So we're going along and I see a bird fly out of the sky towards me, and I think it's, I don't know, something horrible, an airplane maybe, and I flip my lid. So whenever the amygdala perceives danger, it doesn't have to necessarily be danger. If it perceives danger, the thinking part of our brain goes offline. And then we kind of go blank. And what this shows is low emotion. Oh, I'm pointing, sorry, you guys can't see me. I'm pointing to the picture. So when we're peaceful and calm inside, this is connected and we're functioning and able to think clearly. And when we go into high emotion, really for whatever reason, anger, fear, excitement, love, hate, disgust, frustration, you name it, if we're in that high emotion, this shuts off and we can't think. And it's kind of like, I don't know if people have ever said to you, oh, just don't be nervous. Just don't be anxious. It's like, saying that doesn't help at all, because we can't think ourselves out of being in that highly activated state. I hope that makes sense. I can't see you guys to see if you're shaking your heads or not. Anyway, our brains are wired for survival, and our survival response is that fight, flight, freeze. It's triggered when we don't feel safe. Do you guys have questions about that? That was a lot of info really quick. No? Is somebody coming up to ask a question?
No, it's wanted to say that Kim, if you want to do gallery view, you will be able to see the audience.
Okay, how do I do that?
Right view, and then it should be side by side gallery, and then you will be able to see the audience as well.
You see us?
Nope.
Can you see us?
Well, I just see the same thing. Where
So
do I?
on the top right hand corner under view, there's side. If you click into it, it says side by side gallery, and then you'll be able to see both you and Scott. And Scott is the audience. And to answer your questions, if anyone has a question, we'll have them come up to you, up to the podium to ask a question.
Okay. I'm still not seeing where the side by side view is. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is just showing the fight, flight, freeze response, and we're hardwired for danger. That's why we go to worst case scenario in our heads. So it's not that there's something wrong with us, it's because we're wired to survive, to stay alive. And so just get curious for a minute about what happens in your body when you get activated or triggered. I don't know what word works best for you, but it's when you have that stress response, that fear, when you get anxious and scared. So for me, I'm breathing a bit shallow, not as much as when I first started this, but my breath is shallow. I'm sure my heart is speeding a little bit. Racing thoughts, feeling overwhelmed, sweating, having a dry mouth. And, you know, we know a lot about the fight flight, but there's not as much talk on freeze and fawn. And the freeze part is, instead of going like this, you go like this, and you just kind of shut down or dissociate, get spacey or foggy. You feel disconnected and shut down, feel separated from yourself and your feelings. That's more of a depression thing instead of an anxiety thing. So, oh, and these are automatic. We don't get to choose how our body responds to stress. It just does what it does. So just think about the last time you were really stressed. It may have been today. And kind of how you know that, what goes on in your body. So I go into a bit of detail with this to help you understand what's most likely going on inside of your brain and body when you are experiencing the imposter syndrome. You feel nervous, you're fearful that they will find out you're a fraud. I'm a fraud. Feel nervous or unsafe can trigger or activate the fight, flight, freeze response, which triggers many reactions. Over 1,300 reactions go on in our bodies when we perceive threat. Including the rational part of our brain going offline or disconnecting, which I just talked about. Have you ever had an important task to do and blanked out or been unable to think clearly? Maybe asking someone out on a date. I hear clients say that that they're thinking about walking up to someone in a bar and they just freeze. They can't. So that's why I threw that one in there. Many people's nervous systems live in this heightened state of anxiety. And yeah, that is true. And the deal with the amygdala, going back to the smoke alarm in our brains, if someone has experienced any type of trauma, the amygdala is extra sensitive, which means it's going to alarm more often, even when it's not actually a dangerous state. And that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, just past experiences that have people just kind of on edge most of the time, if not all the time. And there's tools to rewire all of this. There's tools to help you get out of the fight, flight, freeze response and back into a more calm and confident feeling inside. And so one of the tools literally is just when you walk into a room and sit down or even standing up, just really let your brain look at the corners of the room, and then feel your feet on the floor. Just feel the, oh, you can't see I'm very explanatory with my hands. Just feel the connection with the bottom of your foot and the floor. And just focusing on that is a way to kind of bring yourself back to present time and back into your body. Another tool is to breathe. I'm smiling because I'm sure you've heard a million different, just breathe, just breathe. So here are a couple techniques that literally tell your body without words that it's okay to rest and relax. So when we inhale, it speeds us up. And when we exhale, it calms us down. So it makes sense that if we breathe in shorter and out longer, it helps our nervous system calm. So as you feel your feet connected to the ground, just try a few rounds of breathing in to the count of 4 and out to the count of 7. And it doesn't really matter what the numbers are, just exhale longer than inhale. You do a couple rounds of that. And then maybe notice inhaling through the nose, and notice that the air is a bit cooler going in your nose. Maybe notice it hitting the back of your throat. And then exhale out your lips and notice that that air is a little warmer. These are 2 tips or 2 tools that you can do really anywhere. And it's just slowing yourself down. It's slowing the body down. It's okay if this doesn't work for you right now. It might in a stressful situation, or other tools might work better for you. If there's time at the end, I have more tools I can share. So our brain and body go into fight, flight, freeze, or rest and digest. And I'm simplifying here. But if we're not being chased by a tiger, then we're more into rest and digest. And this breathing is one of the ways that we can help our body get into that rest and digest. Okay, so we've discussed physical and emotional feelings. Now let's talk about thoughts. So negative thoughts. Remember, our brain defaults to negative for survival. So self-doubt. Our culture perpetuates a sense of not feeling good enough. Think about TV commercials, magazine ads, etc., telling us we're not smart enough, dedicated enough, fast enough, competent enough, blah, 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 right? And I think social media intensifies this. I'll see on Facebook, somebody posting some fabulous thing about their life, and immediately I think, oh, I want that, and it's just this little sliver of, somebody else's wonderfulness. And I just automatically compare to that and then have to remind myself. The underlying message, it seems like in this society, it's very shame-based. The underlying message is I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough. And a tip I learned quite a while ago is, although it's hard, don't compare your insides to others' outsides. Because really, when we're seeing somebody's fabulousness, we have no idea what's really going on inside of them. So the inner critic or perfectionist, which is that negative voice. So I want to spend a little time on this because sometimes it goes nonstop and we don't even realize that it's talking. So this voice is attempting to protect us, believe it or not. Again, the survival part of our brain. Demanding us to be our very best, so we are liked, accepted, etc. It doesn't understand that it actually is creating anxiety from unrealistic expectations and comparisons. So you guys think for a minute about what the running commentary is. There's probably 2 or 3 that go through. It may be kind of quiet, it may be really loud, but that are going on inside, just kind of beating you down. I'll never be as smart as him. I don't deserve this. If I don't do this right, I'll be a complete failure. I should be able to do this perfectly. It's all these expectations that we put on ourselves. So if you can think, if there's 1 or 2 or I don't know, 5 that you have, just jot them down. Even if you guys are at home, I'm hoping that you have something to write on. And this is just for you. This is just for your information. But sometimes we need to see what the problem is before we can do anything about it. So what is your running commentary? And then do a reality check on it, because just because a voice is saying that doesn't mean it's true. And there may be some thoughts that are true, but my guess is most of them are not. And this helps me and really works with my clients too. Reduce its power by giving it a silly name. So right now, think about your negative voice. Think about that voice that is pushing you and do it better and just all of that. Think about it and give it a name. Mine is mainly Negative Nancy. And she looks like a little gnome with crazy hair, and she's tiny. She's super funny looking. And when I catch that going, it's like I'll kind of step away from her a bit and I'll go, okay, Nance, like you can stop now. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I am not buying what you're saying. So hopefully I had a client last week say Pessimist Patty. That's her name. It takes some of the power out of this, this voice that feels, at one time, my negative voice controlled me and caused me so much anxiety. And I really didn't know how to differentiate that from the soft voice in me. So hopefully you guys have come up with a name for yours. And then, this is kind of hard to comprehend, but make friends with it. Like, remember that this part really is a part of us, and it is fear-based, and it really is trying to help. And so, and it's pretty powerful. So can you be kind and curious about it and what it's trying to do? And maybe kind of befriend it instead of this pushing against it. Because when we're pushing against inside, it causes conflict, which creates anxiety, which is the opposite of what we're going for. So just being a little curious with it. Okay, the good news is that we can change our beliefs about ourselves and build confidence with neuroplasticity. How am I doing? I'm checking in, Carolyn and Aaron. Oh, I can't hear you guys. Are we good?
Kim, yes, we're good.
Okay, cool. All right, so Dan Siegel talks a lot about neuroplasticity, and it used to be believed that our brains stopped growing after adolescence, and now it's been discovered in research that our brain continues to grow and change until we die. So neural networks in the brain can change through growth and reorganization. And he coined a term, neurons that fire together, wire together. And basically, what we think about, we bring about. Well, I'm going to go into detail. with this. Okay, so before and after intentional positive thought, my friend found these two pictures for us. Default brain wiring. And for you guys, it may work better to say programming. It's kind of the same thing. It's, you know, our programs that we were born with and then society and childhood put in us, right? I'm not worthy. And then we can consciously rewire, reprogram our brains for calm and positive. The next slides show how. So it's okay to talk to yourself. Some people believe, I've had clients believe that they're crazy if they talk to themselves, and that's just not true. Crazy people don't ever question whether they're crazy. In case you ever question whether you're crazy, it means you're not. Self-talk can be extremely helpful when it is positive and supportive. Be your own support team. You can be your own support team. It's even more beneficial when you talk to yourself in the second person. And talking to yourself does not mean you are crazy. And I've been doing this stuff for a long time. And now it's kind of an automatic, like when I finish this, I'm going to be really relieved, to be honest with you. And I'm going to just be really proud of myself that I did it. I took a chance and I did this presentation for you guys. And I'll be like, get it, girl. I mean, I'll say that to myself. Okay, now let's begin rewiring and reprogramming. So let's connect with the loving, soft voice in you. This can be much more challenging than finding the negative voice because, again, we're wired for negative. But this is so important. So if those of you at home can do this probably and feel very comfortable, but allow your eyes to soften or close if that's comfortable. And closing our eyes just helps us go within instead of focusing outside. So let's start with something external. Is there a little person or an animal for which you have felt caring, softness, or love? Just scan your whole life and just see what pops up. A little person or an animal for which you have felt caring, softness, and love. Sink into that feeling for a moment. Like really see if you can feel that in your body. And see if you can notice where you feel it. Where in your body? Mine's usually in my chest area, kind of around my heart, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And when you are noticing this, what temperature does it have? Does this feeling have a temperature? Just go with it. Whatever's coming up, go with it. Don't try to analyze it. Does it have a color? Does this feeling of caring and softness and love have a color in you? Does it have a shape? Does it have a texture? Just notice this compassionate energy in your body when you think of this person or animal. Now bring this feeling towards yourself and breathe it in. Just take a few breaths. It's common for this to be difficult to let in. That's okay. See if you can let it in just a little bit. Sometimes it's helpful to picture a younger version of you and feel compassion for little you. So think of little you. What comes up? What picture comes up? And put your hands on your heart, if it's not too awkward, And breathe in softness, acceptance, compassion for self or little self. And guys, we all have this caring, positive, loving voice inside of us. We do. Some of us just haven't really been taught how to listen to it or find it. But we all have it. So even if you were able to identify that feeling and turn it towards yourself for a second, it's a win. Okay. It's okay and healthy to be on your own team. It's not selfish, it's not conceited, it's not anything, it's healthy. It's healthy, it's healthy. Okay, so positives about you. And I know you guys probably have done some of this in other workshops. So I want to see if something different comes up, because this isn't really about what you, this can be about what you have achieved academically and with this stuff, but it can also be any other thing that you just feel really good about yourself. So continue with your eyes softened or closed, if that's okay, if you're comfortable with that. And begin by bringing in your self-love and self-compassion. Picture little you sitting on your lap if you need to, or sitting across from you. And think about a time you felt really good about yourself. Anytime in your life, just see what's coming up right now. And it's not necessarily what you should feel good about, but what you really, a time when you, for me, one of mine is when I graduated with my master's, and it was like, yes, it was just this awesome feeling in me. Yeah, I can feel it right now when I think about it. So one of those, and write it out in detail. So make some notes about what that was like. I mean, for me, I picture the room that I was in and me holding my diploma in my hand and who was around me and what I was wearing and how I felt inside. And that's really the most important, is how it felt. Not what I thought about it, but how I felt about it. Now feel this, feel that feeling. The more you can feel and relive this experience, the stronger the new positive wiring will be. This may bring up other memories of positive, awesome, feeling awesome about yourself. Feel those too. You're lighting up a positive neural network in your brain. And so by bringing up this positive, you're thinking about it and you're feeling it, and it's lighting up this whole connection of experiences that are positive. And because we're wired to the negative, we have to experience these positives over and over, and it creates new connections in our brain. And then think about what others compliment you on. Oh yeah, and the negative voice is not welcome here. Turn its volume way down or off. So what do others compliment you on? If you can, write down some things that others compliment you on. My guess is this is where your imposter syndrome comes in a lot, is that you are these things that other people compliment you on, but you can't, you're afraid that they're not true. Yeah. All right. So affirmations, repetition strengthens and confirms. It's creating those new beliefs, new grooves in the brain. They need to be in the present tense. I am courageous for attending this workshop. I do know what I'm talking about. I am confident. whatever you got from the last exercise. What are your affirmations? What did you discover from your last writing exercise about yourself? Any positives? Write those down. When we write something down, when we see it, hear it, and write it down, it cements it more in our minds than just thinking it. Okay, so I'm going to review what we just went over, and I think I have time to do a couple more tools for anxiety. You guys can let me know. So we defined the imposter syndrome. Hopefully you guys understand how fear affects the brain and the body. I gave you a couple tools to reduce anxiety. We talked about working on our negative voice. And how to increase confidence and positive beliefs about self. And with this rewiring that I'm talking about, it's rewiring for positive beliefs and confidence, and it's also rewiring the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system for calm. And so it's, this intentional work on self is actually going for more of a peaceful feeling inside versus an anxious feeling. And we really can change that within ourselves. Not 100%, but we really can change it. Okay, Aaron, just go like that if I have a time for another calming tool, or do they have questions?
Yeah, you have. And then we can also save some time for a Q&A.
Okay, cool. So here is another really simple calming tool. I would love to do two more, but creating saliva is another way to signal to our bodies that we are safe to go into rest and digest. And so right here, right now, see if you can create more saliva in your mouth. So think about biting into a juicy lemon or sucking on a warhead. I think those really sour candies are warheads. Your favorite meal or dessert. A yoga trick is to run your tongue along the inside and outside of your teeth. I think of sauerkraut because I don't care for sauerkraut at all, so it tends to make my saliva happen. Just see if you can sit here and take a moment or two and just create more and more saliva in your mouth. Doing this slows your racing thoughts, slows your heart rate. It's, when we go into digest mode, here's what's happening in the body. If we're running for dear life, we are not digesting food, right? Our body, we need all of our resources to run or to fly or fight. And by us creating saliva in our mouths, we're telling our body, hey, it's okay, we're safe. It's okay to rest and digest. This is another one that you can do while you're driving. I don't know, some people are anxious when they're driving. And you can do it anytime, anywhere. Okay, hopefully you've created more saliva. Okay. Oh, so I'll take questions. I have a list of my favorite tools to help calm the nervous system that I would love to share with anybody that wants them. I will post them on my website. And anybody that watched this that has questions, like truly, you guys are welcome to reach out to me with any questions or comments that you don't necessarily want published in this session. Okay. Questions?
So we're gonna ask anyone who has a question to come up so she can hear your question, as well as use the microphone, so everyone else can hear the question. No questions? Oh, you have a question. Come up here. Kim, we have a question.
Great.
Yeah.
So, hi, I'm Harsha. I was wondering, like, is there a thing like too much positive self-talk or too much negative? Like, how would you balance between the two? How do you know it's like too much, something like that?
How do you know if it's too much positive talk?
Yeah, too much positive. Yeah, how would you balance being positive, negative?
Okay. Have you known somebody with too much positive?
No, actually, I don't know.
I know I haven't either. So that's what I'm thinking about. Like, I don't think there can be too much positive. Now, there can be too much ego, right? And I'm sure you know some people that have so much ego, they think they're the best thing ever, right? And that's a whole lot of ego, but that's different than like positive talk to self and supporting and loving self. And so does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to me, there's so much negative that I don't need any more negative. I have enough for the rest of my life. I have enough negative in me already. So am I answering your question?
Yeah, I got a sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll ever be balanced. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some Zen guru monks somewhere in the mountains are balanced or have more positive than negative. But I think that because we're wired, you know, we're wired for survival, and we automatically go to the negative, that if we really work on bringing positive in, I don't know if we'll ever be balanced. So I don't think that there is too much positive. That's just my opinion. That's not really a clinical, that's just, well, I guess it is clinical too.
Okay.
So go for positive.
Okay.
We need positive.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question.
Do we have another question? Yes, I think it is recorded and we'll make it available for our audience in the future.
How long will it be available? How long?
I think it's indefinite. As long as we sign up, I think we'll keep it on there for a while. Sorry. Okay.
When will it be up?
I'll get back to you.
Oh yeah, I want to know that too.
It usually takes a couple of days.
Yeah, I'll take a couple of days.
Okay.
I will have to upload it to the site. Okay, please, let's give a round of applause and thank Kim.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. So next we have a 50-minute break, and there was some scheduling change for VidSurf, father of the internet. He was supposed to be our keynote yesterday, but there's some scheduling issue. So now we have a session, and it will be in the main room after the break. As well as there's a young professional volunteering, funding, and career. So if you're a young professional, you're interested in how can I get be more involved, and how can I get additional fundings. That's also, and it's running simultaneously to VidSurf's presentation. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, are we done?
Yes.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.